Right, graduate biomechanics class. This is a little video to kind of help explain what I want for the next assignment. You're going to have 2 weeks to do it with Mardi Gras next week, having us kind of a break. So I have that on the form I'm going to submit. Again, I'm just trying to be a better communicator. So motion. Um, Everybody has different backgrounds. Those of you that have me know my verbiage and why, and it's not like it's my verbiage like I invented. I didn't invent it. I'm just taking my background in mechanics and implementing it into human movement, the biology part. So in other words, we take consistencies in classical mechanics, like two different forms of rotation, clockwise, counterclockwise, and we apply it to the biomechanics, flexion, extension. So it's actually kind of simple, but we still have to communicate verbiage. So we have different positions, as you guys probably have heard before. We have anatomical position, and then Les talked about fetal position. Flexion type motions take you from one point to another, just like traveling east on the interstate takes you one way and traveling west takes you the other way. Flexion takes you from anatomical to fetal. Extension takes you from fetal back to anatomical, or it can take you further away from anatomical. So to summarize what I'm trying to get to is, let's say my wrist is in its anatomical position, because anatomical position can be relative to a joint. I have wrist flexion from anatomical position, and I can even communicate that in degrees. I flexed 5 degrees from anatomical. I flexed 45 degrees from anatomical. I traveled 45 miles from Lafayette. How? East. Flexion would be the east part. 45 miles would be the 45 degrees part. And where did you start? I mean, think about it. If you're talking communication and you're trying to give someone directions, right? You're trying to give someone directions to meet you at a party. Well, the first thing you can ask me, where are you at? So anatomical for us is a simple where are you at? Flexion from anatomical, extension to anatomical, extension from anatomical, flexion to anatomical, flexion from anatomical. You get the point. So if you're in Lake Charles, if Lafayette is home, if Lafayette is anatomical position, and you're in Lake Charles, you're west of Lafayette, you can be traveling east, but yet still be west. And you can pass through Lafayette, anatomical, and then be still heading east. It's the same concept. I'm in Lake Charles. I'm traveling home. I pass home, and I'm still traveling in the same direction. Extension to anatomical, extension from anatomical. So your position, where your joint is at, is relative to anatomical. So people that have hunched over shoulders, we say they are protracted, they're kyphotic. But protracted compared to what? Compared to anatomical, where they're supposed to be. Someone could be flexed, ED, your position, extended your position. People that have a sway back have an extended trunk. Well, extended compared to what? Anatomical, where are they supposed to be, okay? So I want to let you guys know, if y'all want access to any of my old lectures on these topics, please message me and I can add you. I could give you a user exemption for you to watch some of those old lectures. So what I wanted to do is show you a couple examples. Okay. Because in the assignment, I want you to cover all of the different position and motion options. And there are 3 ways you can do it, and it could be a combination of any. You can have one photo, a position picture, and say, okay, well, this person their knees are flexed. How do I know? Because they are not in anatomical. They are flexed. They are more into fetal. They're more in a ball. And then you could say, okay, I'm going to cover the motions at the knees. Motion from this position to anatomical would be bilateral knee extension. And motion from anatomical to that position, bilateral knee flexion. So you can infer motion. If you're in Lake Charles and you say, well, if I go from here to Lafayette, I have to travel east. You don't have to see it. You can infer it, because you know that those changes have to elicit a motion in that certain direction to get you there, okay? Another position picture. My shoulder is flexed. If I say I have motion from this position to anatomical, I have to have extension. If I started in anatomical and went to that position, I have to have flexion. And we're going to assume sagittal plane. We're not going to make it more complicated than it is. Then what you could do is before and after photos, if you want to explain all your different appendicular motions. You could say, I start on the picture on the left, and then I have elbow motion to the picture on the right. I had to have right elbow flexion to go from here to there. And to go back, I had to have right elbow extension. Simple enough. And another option is you could use video. You can have video. Hopefully the motion is slow enough where we can see it's not rapid movement. But you can use video and say, okay, here's plantar flexion, here's dorsiflexion, here's inversion, here's eversion. So basically your assignment is for you to communicate all of the different simple, guys, before we make poetry, man, we got to practice our alphabet and do sentence structure. So you went over joints last class, bones, articulation of joints, and those movement possibilities. Now I want you to show me those motions. That's the next step. So on the sheet that I'm going to post, it has all the different major appendicular joints. And I want you to show me, hey, here's what the ankle can do. Hey, here's what the subtalar joint can do. Hey, here's what the knee can do. Here's what the hip can do. All right? I'm hip. Ask if you have questions. You have 2 weeks to do this. All right, guys?